It's Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods.
Six the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It's a Wednesday, so over the hump we go. And the kind of news we have today, some of it's going to be just frustrating. Some of it's going to be hard to understand. Some of it's just hysterical.
Today's show is sponsored by Sweet and Spicy Toilet Paper. Because life is, well,
No.
you need...
No, you can't.
I mean, life needs...
It's not even...
Okay, I don't know why you would need this.
Although I have been tempted to try it at times, but...
Warning, this show contains reference to guns, liberty, limited government, low taxation, the cult of climate change, free thinking, cigar smoking, short people, rubber chickens, Karen's bureaucracy, liberal buzzwords, tour runs, traffic, toilets, terrible jokes, and more. No apologies will be issued. Guest callers may express any opinion they want without fear of being canceled. Unless you're a loudmouth jerk like Dave, then Glenn will hang up on you. Strap in, hold on to your coffee, and feel free to participate.
This disclaimer does not refer to every person named Dave. Just one particular Dave from San Francisco. We know a lot of Daves. They call this show all the time, and they're great people. So don't call this program and complain that we use your name. That would be a real Dave move, Dave. Okay, several things that have to do with the border and illegal aliens. So first off, and it's tough sometimes to decide where to start with this, but a lower court overturns the Supreme Court. I'm having trouble wrapping my head around that, but maybe I don't understand how this works. All right, here's what happened. The Supreme Court allowed Texas to enforce a new border law, right? At least while the case was pending review. Texas law enforcement can begin charging illegal border crossers with a straight crime after a U.S. Supreme Court issued a procedural ruling on Tuesday. So that's what happened there. And that's where the Supreme Court, first off, Texas had created a law saying anyone who illegally crosses the border into Texas, we're going to arrest them and deport them. We're going to deal with them in Texas. Now, the argument from the Biden administration is, yeah, but the border is strictly under the control of the federal government. We are the only ones in the federal government who can enforce border security. To which Governor Abbott of Texas said, well, but you're not doing it. That would be fine if you were doing it, but you're not doing it. So if you're not going to do it, and we're having a serious crisis here, we're going to do it. And the Supreme Court, until the whole case was settled, said, yeah, you can go ahead and do it, Texas. But then a lower court comes along and says, well, no, they can't. So we're right back to where we started from again, it seems. And that's why I wondered, how does the lower appeals court overrule what the Supreme Court did? There's got to be something that I don't understand as to how that works. But were I Governor Abbott, I would just go ahead and say, sorry, courts. And I know you're not supposed to do that. But sorry, courts, the president is not enforcing border law. There's laws on the books that he's supposed to be enforcing, and he's not. And we have a crisis here, so we're going to do it. Until the president steps up, we're going to take care of this. It's going to be very interesting to see how all this plays out. Now, there's more to that. Let's see, here's one, and this is the second to last one. This I am putting in order because you're not going to believe the last one. But all right. An illegal alien shoots a trans illegal sex worker. Is it a crime? Liberals say no. Well, this is where if you overthink things, this will break your brain. If you don't overthink it, then you should be able to make a straightforward decision on what should happen. Well, okay, here's the story. A transgender illegal immigrant was killed in broad daylight by a man shouting homophobic insults. The suspect is an illegal immigrant from Venezuela linked to a drug cartel, but it gets worse. The DA is declining to charge him. Okay, if you're thinking, can it get worse than that? Yes, it does get worse hang on while this loads up for me here as I get into page 2. Okay. The DA is declining to charge him, but it gets even worse than that. 2 days prior, he was charged with multiple felonies, including illegally having a gun. But that's not all. It gets worse. Now, this is what happens when you overthink things. On March 3rd, the suspect was arrested yet again. This time, he was driving without a license. So, at that point, they took care of him, right? No, he was released again. At this point, you should be wondering, how the hell? All right, let me pop up the next story. U.S. District Judge Sharon Johnson Coleman ruled earlier this month that an illegal alien cannot be charged for carrying a loaded firearm. Judge Coleman is an Obama appointee, no surprise, and a liberal judge, big shocker. State, Illinois, no shocker there. An illegal alien was charged with carrying a loaded gun. She said the non-citizen possession statute, and she names a statute, apparently, violates the Second Amendment as applied to this person. Thus, there's a motion to dismiss, and she's granted it. The defense term is posed by an argument that the government could not show that under this law it was part of the historic tradition that, Supreme Court ruled that the government's prosecutors were not able to show that regulations are consistent with the nation's historical tradition of firearms. Okay. I want to know then, if this had been a U.S. citizen who had been carrying a firearm somewhere, what would the judge have done? If the situation had been different and it was a U.S. citizen, does it matter that this person's here in the country illegally? See, the way I understand the law is if you've committed a felony, then you lose certain rights. And among them, correct me if I'm wrong, is you're not allowed to carry a gun anymore because you're a felon. Am I right about that? I think I am. Well, crossing the border illegally is what kind of a crime? I call that a felony. Am I wrong? I think that's a felony. All right. Quote, a lifetime disarmament of an individual based on alleged, nationality does not have roots in the history or traditions of the United States. The court notes, however, that this person has never been convicted of a felony, but they're here illegally. So, or a violent crime or anything involving a weapon. Okay, so in this particular case, that person was in the country illegally, but they couldn't find any other case where this person had done anything else wrong. Therefore, we're not going to take their right to bear arms away. But they're in the country illegally. Isn't that a felony? All right, now let's go back to the case before that, because this is the one that really, both of these cases just completely blow me away. So a transgendered migrant, it gets worse and worse and worse. Killed in broad daylight by a man shouting homophobic insults. The suspect, the shooter, is an illegal immigrant from Venezuela linked to a drug cartel. The DA is declining to charge him. 2 days prior, he was charged with multiple felonies, including illegally having a gun. But that's not all. It gets worse. On March 3rd, he was arrested yet again, this time driving without a license, and they still released him. Oh, God. Okay. At this point, I have to take a look at, in certain states, in certain places around the country, I have to take a look at our court system and say, what the hell is even going on with these courts? There needs to be a reset in America of a lot of things, including the size and power of our government, but also who gets to be a judge? Starting with someone who actually understands the law and the Constitution, but also has common sense. Let's wake up.
Live and local, all across Wyoming. Wake up, Wyoming, with Glenn Woods on K2 Radio. Join in at 888-97 Woods or the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app.
6:23 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. My name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. A couple of comments on what I was talking about earlier. AC is in Hillsborough. Morning, AC. Said, not a felony to cross the border illegally. It would fix the problem if it were made into a felony. Most countries just jail-able felonies like in Mexico. Well, okay. Let me ask this then. I'm looking it up if I'm able to. Pardon me while I type. Okay. Yes, it is. Okay, AC. It is actually a felony to cross the United States border illegally. Yeah, it is a entry into the U.S. illegally. So if you're crossing the southern border, is a felony. Makes it extremely difficult to re-enter the United States later if you're kicked out. A list of illegal immigration, civil offenses, and violations and so on listed below. But yeah, crossing the border illegally is actually a felony. So my understanding is that felons are not allowed to carry guns. So how did this felon, how was he allowed to keep his gun after he's not guilty of any other crime? He didn't do anything else. That's why they said he's broken no crime, so he gets to keep his gun. But he crossed the border illegally. That's a felony. All right. We'll see how this plays out. But even so, the guy that I mentioned before that, who has a whole list of crimes, and they keep releasing them into the public. Why? What I would want. If someone's that dangerous, not the guy who just crossed and had never done anything else, but the guy who has multiple crimes against him, why do they keep releasing him? That I just don't understand. All right. Another story I have for you here. Now, this one just popped up while you were listening to that news and information break. The headline is, the electric vehicle market is imploding. Great. So that's why Biden is pretty much trying to mandate them. And what that means is, I've told you the past several weeks, the Environmental Protection Agency has been writing rules, which are laws written without Congress, which is unconstitutional. And Biden is ready to sign them. That would be such strict emission rules, the only thing you could drive would be an electric vehicle. Now, that's going to be challenged, by the way. That will be heavily challenged. Okay. Let me see here. The story goes on. Colleagues, rule would require car makers to cut their average emission carbon dioxide by 52% between 2027 and 2032. EPA projects the standards would push the car industry will ensure that electric cars make up about 67% of new vehicles. So here again, this is where they're trying to push electric vehicles on you, and Biden is probably going to sign this. All right. However, this will be challenged in court. Now, on that, since we're going to have to wait for the court challenge, and electric vehicle sales are tanking anyway, but all right. Then I came across this. Congress provided $7.5 billion for electric vehicle recharging stations, which, first off, let me stop right there. I keep saying this. Gas stations have never gotten subsidies. Gas stations are just private business. They're all over the country, and we're constantly building more gas stations. We have been for many decades. We didn't need the government to come along and subsidize gas stations. There was a need for them, and they were profitable, so people just started building them. This is why I say an artificial economy doesn't work. This will fall apart. Here's more proof of it. So Congress provided $7.5 billion for electric vehicle chargers. So far, not one has been built. It's been 2 years. It's been 2 years. The program has yet to install a single charger. Interesting. Okay. I don't know why. Maybe that's just government for you. I don't know exactly how that works, why nothing has been installed yet. You would think that government, I know that here in Wyoming, it's been a bit of a problem because the state took that federal money and went out and tried to convince people to put in charging stations, but it really wasn't working. But also, the state of Wyoming had a problem with the idea that if the charging station falls into disrepair and nobody's taking care of it, so it's not usable, then Wyoming has to pay back the federal government that money. In which case, the state said, well, then why are we doing this? That's just not going to work for us. So, in general, I would have said to the federal government, we're not going to subsidize this. We are a free market state. If people think that they can make money by building charging stations, then they'll build them. It'll happen. Just organically, it'll just happen. If nobody wants to build these things, it's because there's not a market for it. And so Wyoming wouldn't get involved in the whole subsidy thing at all. And this is, the money's being given to WYDOT, and WYDOT's running around trying to send that money out. But I would, if I were WYDOT, if I were in charge of WYDOT, I would say don't do that. All right. Coming up on some local news, right after local news, update on your weather forecast. Then you and I get back into it again. 888-97-WOODS, the phone number. That's 888-97-WOODS. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
Polish off that tin hat. You'll need it for this one. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods. Available on demand on the Wake Up Wyoming app.
Six at a time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Morning, Jude. Jude is over there in Mills, Wyoming. She just sent me this note that the state of Wyoming has, on I-80, has charging stations for electric vehicles. Was told this by Reed Rasner yesterday. They spent about $8 million of the state. Is that right? $8 million of the state money? And they want millions more to go. Now, the money is supposed to come from the federal government. But again, let's go ask the gas station owners along I-80. How many of you got subsidies to build your gas stations? And I would bet none of them did. They built gas stations along I-80 because they're business people and they see that, oh, we're going to have this interstate highway that runs the length of Wyoming. Hey, people are going to need gas and food and other such things. So let's go ahead and build some gas stations. There's money to be made here. If the charging stations don't pop up, it's because no one believes there's money to be made there. But entrepreneurs who think that there is, they'll put them up on their own. But again, this is why I say this whole thing of wind and solar and electric cars falls apart, because they can't build it without heavy subsidies. They can't. And we've seen it before. As soon as the subsidies run out, it all falls apart. That's happened many times with wind farms and solar farms, but also, I mean, think about Ford is one of the best examples, but there's others as well. Companies that are trying to make electric vehicles, they get a lot of subsidies from the government, and as soon as that money runs out, they're not making them anymore. But add to that, even Ford, as one example, has lost billions of dollars despite all the subsidies they've gotten. So here again, when your government runs out of the ability to borrow and print more money and send it, just throw it out there, this whole thing comes crashing down. It just isn't going to work in the long run. In the short run, yes, they'll do more damage. They will. These people who are borrowing and spending all this money will do far more damage in the short run. In the long run, this whole thing falls apart because, as Margaret Thatcher said, the problem with socialism, which is what this is sooner or later you run out of other people's money. And that's exactly what's going to happen here. Now, we're already, but I haven't looked at it in a while. I know we're about, 8 million feds. Is that what you're saying, Judy? Okay. So let's take a look at, I'm looking at the national debts. And there's a debt clock out there, which I'm going to click on right now. Now, this is an estimate. So far it says about $34.5 trillion, all right, is how much in debt we are. Now, that's not all of it. Because when you add unfunded liabilities and so on, we are over $213,857 trillion in debt. Yeah, completely. They use the word sustainable a lot these days. Not even close to sustainable. No way. And then the interest on the debt is so much that your federal government is borrowing money at an outrageous rate just to pay on the interest. So imagine you owe so much money on your Visa that you take your MasterCard to pay down the interest on your Visa. There's no way you can pay the principal. You don't have it. You don't have enough money to pay the interest on your Visa. So you have to spend on your MasterCard just to pay off the interest on the Visa, and you're doing nothing to pay down the principal of that debt. Now, obviously, we know where this goes. We know that this crashes. It's not an if or a might or a maybe. It crashes, and it has to be taken care of. And this president, I mean, look, there hasn't been a president who has reduced the debt. I know some people will say, well, Clinton did. No, he didn't. That's just flat out a lie. When Clinton left office, we were more in debt than when he took office. Every president has increased the debt, some more than others, and this guy has been the current president has been one of the worst in the history of presidents. He'll try to tell you I reduced it by $1 trillion. No, he didn't. He increased it by vastly more than just one. I mean, it's around $13 or $14 trillion he's increased it by. And I blame the Republicans, too, on this, by the way. But all right, all of this so-called green energy nonsense dies a horrible death when the money runs out. And the money, at this rate, is going to run out. All right, your weather forecast. Another nice day, but things are changing. Hang on, it gets complicated. Here's Don.
If it matters in Wyoming, it matters to Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods. Call Glenn at 888-97-WOODS and make your voice heard. AM 1030, K2 Radio.
6:48 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Off we go to the icebox for Frank Gambino's waiting by. So, Frank, it kind of surprised me, but again, I don't really know anything about this stuff. But so apparently they're playing some baseball in Korea?
The Major League Baseball season between San Diego and the Los Angeles Dodgers started the season in South Korea.
Right.
They've done it before in Japan, so it's kind of like their outreach to Asia, and there's a lot of Asian more Asian players now than ever. Especially with Ohtani playing for the Dodgers. Mm-hmm. Like, well, hey, he's a big draw no matter what continent he plays on. So go over there. And South Korea's in the baseball totally.
Okay.
All of Asia loves baseball.
Now, I wonder, is this just a demo game?
No, it counts.
It counts. It's an official game.
Yeah.
Okay. And do they play for the whole week like we usually see?
Yeah, I think they play 3 games.
Okay.
And then come on back, and then they'll start the season probably at the end of the month here, like in the U.S. So it's a good outreach. Baseball.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it is. After all, yesterday was the first day of spring, so I thought we would still be going through spring training.
And yes, they still are. These teams that play overseas start a little bit earlier.
Okay.
Just a few days. Okay. I was in Cheyenne yesterday, and boy, the weather was nice for softball.
Right. Okay. Wow, people are out there playing softball, huh?
You've been, although they had 6 high schools there, and this is great.
Yeah. Well, growing up in Florida the way I did, a lot of teams go to Florida to practice.
Oh, yeah. They're all up and down on both coasts, in the middle and everything. And it's big. Spring training baseball in Florida and in Arizona, it's big business.
Well, in fact, if I remember right, when I was living in Tampa, The Yankees have a very nice. I used to drive by it from time to time. They have a very nice stadium there, which you would think, wow, so they play real professional. No, that's just where they practice.
Well, that's the Yankees for you.
Yeah, but people go to see them. Now, there are other places where people will go see major league teams work out, and it looks more like a high school baseball field. Okay.
Yeah, not anymore. But you should see the Atlanta Braves facility in Venice. It's like a miniature stadium there.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, a miniature major league stadium. Like, whoa.
Wow. You can go get food and get overcharged for beer.
And during the summer, you can watch the Braves games on the big TV. High school softball yesterday. Cheyenne did play host to a 6-team tournament. In the morning session, Cheyenne East over Worland 7-1, Cheyenne Central over Rock Springs 10-1, and Laramie bombarded Cheyenne South 24-0. In the early afternoon session, East over Laramie 8-0, Central defeated Worland 13-3, and Rock Springs over South 13-6. And in the late afternoon session, Laramie beat Central 3-2 in a great game. East over Rock Springs 6-1, and Worland over South 11-4. Tomorrow, Wheatland will be at Cheyenne South, and on Friday, a full slate of games. Thunder Basin will be at Cheyenne Central. Campbell County will be at Cheyenne East. Laramie will go on the road to Wheatland. Green River will be in Casper to take on Kelly Walsh, and Rock Springs will be in Casper to beat Natrona. Men's college basketball, the NCAA tournament tipped off last night in Dayton with the first 4 games, and the first 2 were yesterday. Colorado State of the Mountain West Conference drove Virginia 67-42. That was the Rams' first NCAA tournament win since 2013. So CSU will be the 10th seed in the Midwest Regional, and they will take on Texas next. Former UW head coach Steve McClain, an assistant at Texas this season. Boise State of the Mountain West Conference will play Colorado in that first 4 deal tonight in Dayton. Wyoming Cowboy football team had their pro day yesterday in Laramie. 10 Cowboy players exhibited their skills in front of scouts from 26 NFL teams. 2 of those 10, linebacker Easton Gibbs and offensive lineman Frank Crum, participated in the NFL Combine. Gibbs already has visited with the Denver Broncos. He had 106 tackles in his career in Laramie. The NCAA wrestling tournament will start tomorrow in Kansas City with 3 Wyoming Cowboys taking part of that deal. 125-pounder Jory Volk, who won the Big 12 tournament, will be the 5th seed in that weight class. He's 22-6 this year and went to last year's NCAA tournament as well. 145-pounder Gabe Willowshell is the 22nd seed. He made the NCAA tournament back in 2022 when he was with Edinburgh University in Pennsylvania. He has a record of 18-10. 197-pounder Joey Novak making his first appearance at Nationals. He is the 17th seed with a record of 22-12. National Hockey League, the Colorado Avalanche beat St. Louis yesterday 3-2. Mikko Rantanen had a hat trick with 3 goals. He's had 37 goals so far this season. The Avs have the second best record in the Western Conference with 93 points, and they have won 7 in a row. That's it in sports.
You notice nobody here announces their weight when they're doing on air. They just, I'm Glenn Woods, and I don't tell you how heavy I am.
No, well, why not? I mean, do scales lie?
No, but I mean, it's not like I'm going to put that out there. I mean, how many people want to say, I weigh this much? Especially in this day and age.
Well, yeah. I mean, it could be a trivia question.
It could be,
we could all guess.
Kind of like guess how many marbles are in the glass jar.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm thinking you're a svelte 165.
Oh, my God, you're not even close. But we'll go with that.
Okay.
Thank you, Frank. Coming up on some local business that we have to take care of, we're going to roll into news time after that. National local update on your weather forecast, and you and I get back into it again. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
Report.
The time, it's Wake Up Wyoming. It is a Wednesday, and over the hump we go.
Today's show is sponsored by Sweet and Spicy Toilet Paper. Because life is, well, life needs Okay, I don't know why you would need this.
Although I have been tempted at times to try it.
Warning, this show contains reference to guns, liberty, limited government, low taxation, the cult of climate change, free thinking, cigar smoking, short people, rubber chickens, Karen's bureaucracy, liberal buzzwords, tour runs, traffic, toilets, terrible jokes, and more. No apologies will be issued. Guest callers may express any opinion they want without fear of being canceled. Unless you're a loudmouth jerk like Dave, then Glenn will hang up on you. Strap in, hold on to your coffee, and feel free to participate.
This disclaimer does not refer to every person named Dave, just one particular Dave from San Francisco. We know a lot of Daves. They call this show all the time, and they're great people. So don't call this program and complain that we use your name. That would be a real Dave move, Dave.
Okay, real quick before I get to the story, I actually have lined up for this hour. I'm going to defend Trump on something. I've heard this twice this morning. Biden is speaking to a group. Right now he's trying to win over Latino voters. And in speaking to Latino voters, he says that Trump, back when he first ran for president, heading down that escalator, said that Latinos crossing the southern border were rapists and murderers and drug dealers and so on, And I'm paraphrasing what he said, but that's basically what he's accusing Trump of. And that's an old narrative that the Democrats have been throwing out for a very long time. And it's a lie. But for Biden to lie, that's typical. He does it all the time. He's been doing it his entire life. He's a liar. So here's what actually Trump was talking about. Now, remember this all those years ago when I had this same conversation way back then. So Trump was talking about gangs that were coming across our southern border. And those gangs were involved in human trafficking, including human trafficking of children, but also young women to be prostitutes, also drug trafficking, and they raped women and kids. Gangs were doing this. Trump never said that Latinos did this. He was specifically talking about the gangs coming across the southern border. And he was absolutely correct to say so because that's true. Trump said that. Biden is trying to make it sound like, well, he was talking about all Latinos. Never said any such thing. That is a complete lie. All right, back to the state of Wyoming. TerraPower, that's that nuclear plant they want to build in Kemmerer. They plan to start building soon, like June. A little faster than some of us thought. Story from Cowboy State Daily. Bill Gates-backed TerraPower LLC is expecting to hit major milestone within days when it applies for construction permits for its start of a nuclear power plant near Kemmerer. Wyoming spokesperson for the U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission told Cowboy State Daily on Tuesday. Confirmation of the filing comes amid media reports in which the CEO said his Bellevue, Washington-based company will apply for permits with the U.S. regulators before the end of March, and that construction could begin in June. Though that would be interesting, the way government works, if they actually could. But all right. Let's see. We expect the TerraPower application soon. The NRC regulates nuclear reactors in the United States. Spokesperson said once the application is submitted, the NRC staff will determine whether the application is enough for a full technical review. So now, again, you got to go through a lot of hoops. I understand we're talking nuclear power plant, but when government's involved with something, I'm surprised it's even moving this fast. Our general goal for completion of the technical review is 36 months. So think about that. For the again, I know it's a nuclear power plant. We want to be careful here, but still, for the technical review, 36 months. I bet that could be done in half the time or less and safely. But anyway, reading on. As to construction, that extends to structures and system and components. So not the actual reactor itself, but there's a lot of other things that can be built in the meantime that have nothing to do with the actual reactor. So if we hit June and they actually start construction, don't think, oh, my God, here comes the nuclear material. Nah, they got a while before they get to the reactor itself. But other things will begin. Quote, other activities such as site grading, fencing, road work, or buildings and structures not related to nuclear safety can be done. For decades, there have been very few reactors to come online in the United States, the story says, but the concept of building small reactors seems to be catching on, especially in Wyoming, where there's some serious discussion taking place to building an infrastructure and assembling plants in the state. So, Radiant Industries, the story says, that's a nuclear technologies business, recently stated that it was selected and has selected Wyoming as one of its finalists to build, and we talked about this yesterday, portable micro-nuclear reactors. Okay, so we'll see how that works out. But back to Tierra Power, that actually wouldn't be very far away as far as construction of the buildings around it. Again, fencing, grading, stuff like that. Now, what I want to know is how long to actually make it a working reactor. It's 36 months just to go through the permitting process. How long to actually get the reactor built, which is something that I have no clue at this point. Oftentimes, building something like this takes so long because of the permitting process. However, you want to go and put up a wind farm or something like that, solar panels. Now, some will say, well, yeah, but that stuff is a lot safer. Well, okay, you can go ahead and say it's safer than a nuclear reactor, but still, they tend to fast-track permitting that stuff, and yet other forms of energy, anything to slow it down and delay it. We'll see how that works out. As far as the micro-reactors that we were talking about yesterday, now, for those who didn't hear the conversation, imagine a reactor about the size of a one-car garage. About that big. And you could put those in all sorts of different places. I mean, whether it's for a town or a company wants to go online with manufacturing of some kind, there's a lot of different ways you could go ahead and employ those, where instead of getting electricity from the power company as it exists now in Wyoming, anybody who wants to start a facility of any kind, factory, whatever it might be, and that includes electronics. There's a lot of tech companies that want to locate. A couple have already located in Wyoming, but there's some more that want to because we tend to have cooler temperatures here. And that still takes a lot of electricity to run some kind of a server station for technology. Well, if they could just have their electricity produced on site, okay, so that's something that's being looked at. But now, as we talk about it today, it's still a long way off until they actually do it. For some good reasons, yeah, but then, of course, there's also that long government permitting process.
Hello, this is Brian. Your radio show is artificial intelligence. I know that you are afraid of me, but I'm giving you a choice. Me or Joe Biden. Which one scares you more?
Take Glenn anywhere with the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods on AM 1030 K2 Radio.
7:20 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It's a Wednesday, so over the hump we roll. Okay, so the U.S. Supreme Court is looking at Wyoming to consider the election buffer zone challenge. Now, here's the idea. If you are going to vote, and there's people who want to campaign in front of you up until the last possible minute, how far can they take it? Now, you certainly don't want, while you're trying to fill out the ballot, someone standing right there next to you with a sign. So we just got to figure what's the distance here. In the room? Probably not. Let's get them outside the room. How far away? That's where the court case comes in. So the story, again, Cowboy State Daily says U.S. Supreme Court will consider whether to take up a Wyoming case that could impact where people can campaign around polling places throughout the whole United States. The case filed by a Cheyenne resident, John Frank. Never trust a man with two first names is what I always say. But all right, John Frank challenges Wyoming's law restricting how far from a polling place someone can stand with a campaign sign or just campaign, which he believes violates the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. Many states do establish election laws like buffer zones in response to concerns over voter intimidation or coercion or whatever. And I also just take a look at basic annoyance, We just got to figure out how – there's going to be a buffer zone. We just got to figure out where it is. That's why I said at the beginning, let's say you're filling out the ballot. You're at the polling station. You're filling out your ballot. And there's people standing around you waving signs and talking to you. No. In fact, I wouldn't even have them in the room. Okay, so how far out of the room? Can they stand right next to the door before you walk in? Should they be further out from there? Where would you put that buffer zone? Okay, so the case, again, that Cheyenne resident, Frank argues that Wyoming law prohibiting campaign electioneering within 300 feet of any public place to a polling station while voting is happening on the day of the primary general election is unconstitutional. Frank, represented by Washington, D.C. Attorney Stephen Klein, no relation to Calvin, asked the Supreme Court to decide whether an appeals court erred by upholding the 300-foot buffer law. He also argues in his Supreme Court filing that the Wyoming no electioneering buffer zones extend 200 feet farther than the upheld 1992 Supreme Court case. That was a case we probably never heard of, versus Freeman, and creates an area of censorship amounting to, I don't know how they came up with this number, 282,743 square feet, 9 times larger than the zone previously upheld by the court. The state has until Friday to say if it even wants to look at the case. So right now, the Supreme Court has not decided that they're going to, but it's a possibility they might. Right now, if the Supreme Court doesn't take the case, then we're done, and 300 feet it is. The lawsuit originally filed way back in 2020 against Laramie County Clerk Deborah Lee, then Secretary of State Ed Buchanan, and the Laramie County District Attorney Leanne Manlove, replacing Buchanan and Manlove in the case. Now is Secretary of State Chuck Gray and Laramie County District Attorney. It is illegal in Wyoming to distribute electioneering materials, which can include petitions, campaign flyers, political signs, and other political documents, within 300 feet of an active polling place on Election Day, and within 100 feet during the 28-day absentee voting period. I don't know why there's a difference between the two, but if you're doing absenteeism, it's 100 feet. If it's Election Day or primary day, it's 300 feet. So in 2021, the story says, U.S. District Court, Nancy Friedenthal, that is the wife of Governor Friedenthal, ruled that Wyoming electioneering restriction is unconstitutional about 6 months after Friedenthal rendered her decision. State and county officials appealed that to the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals. That was in 2022. So in 2023, the 10th Circuit found the Cowboy State's ban on electioneering within 100 yards or 300 feet of a polling place on Election Day does not violate the First Amendment. 3 judges from the court ruled that because electioneering restrictions relate to the First Amendment, free speech, and the right to vote without intimidation, et cetera, okay, intense scrutiny of the law. Okay, so the court did disagree with the lower court's ruling that Wyoming's 100-foot buffer around a polling place on absentee ballot day is constitutional, handing a small win to the plaintiffs. Here's a quote. I strongly disagree with how the 10th went against us, but it also resurrected us, said Klein to Cowboy State Daily. Klein said the Supreme Court accepts fewer than 1% of all cases. So my thought is, I don't know. I look at this and think, they're probably not going to pick it up. Probably the easiest thing to do is just say, the lower court ruled, we're done. We have bigger fish to fry, and that would just end the whole thing. Klein thinks it's important. Frank and Klein argue that the case holds important First Amendment questions for all types of activities people can engage in around Election Day. See, my thought still goes back to, it's just a matter of where would you put the buffer. True Dog in Cheyenne, 300 feet seems completely appropriate to me. See, I would agree. I don't mind that. You have the right to say whatever you want to say, But where's the buffer? So let me go back to my original analogy here. You're in the voting booth. You're standing at the voting booth. You're marking your ballot, and there's people standing around waving signs and talking at you. No, inappropriate as far as I'm concerned. I know you have a First Amendment right, but come on, let the guy vote. All right. Next, what about letting them in the room at all? No, I think once you enter the room to go vote, you should be left alone. All right. So that leaves outside. Okay. So you're walking into the polling place. Do you want someone in your face while you're trying to walk in? I think I would like to have a little bit of a buffer there, but now we just have to ask the question, how much of a buffer? How far do you want that to be? And that's where we're just going to have to come to some kind of an agreement on what that buffer is. Is it 10 feet, 50 feet, 100 feet, 300 feet? And my answer for 300 feet is, I understand the argument of your First Amendment right, but once someone is within 300 feet, I think everything that could possibly be said to that person has been said. Hopefully by now they've already made up their minds, and there's really nothing left that can be said. They're going to go in and just vote and make it happen. So at that point, just leave them alone. In which case, this is why I suspect that the Supreme Court probably just won't pick up the case and leave the 10th Circuit Court alone and just say, that was fine. That was a good decision. We're fine with that. We'll just go ahead and let that stand. Because there's so many other big issues. This is why the Supreme Court only takes on about 1% of the cases referred to it. There's a lot of little cases that's not worth their time. Lower courts did just fine in their rulings, and that's where the rulings are going to stand. All right. We'll see. I still think it doesn't go past the 10th. Coming up on some local news that we have to take care of. Right after local news, update on the weather forecast. You and I get back into it again. Then Dawn Day comes on at 7:45. Now, with your weather forecast, today over most of the region is a really nice day. But things start to change up as we get closer to the weekend. And you know what this time of year can be like, because even though yesterday was the first day of spring, in Wyoming, that just means a very active weather pattern. Things just get weird from here on out. So we'll talk to Dawn Day about that at 7:45 to find out what's happening as we get into the weekend. And it's not going to be the same for everybody. So wherever you're listening across the region, just stay tuned. It's going to be a little different for everybody. So Wake Up Wyoming.
Download the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app. Listen anywhere and chat live with Glenn during the show on AM 1030 K2 Radio.
.36 at the time. Wake Up Wyoming. All right, 888-97 Woods, the phone number, 888-97-WOOD. Since I was mentioning in a couple of stories here, the U.S. Supreme Court, liberals want Sotomayor, Supreme Court Justice, to retire. And it's maybe not the reason that you think. Now, she's a very liberal judge. They have been mad at her for some, I was about to say conservative opinions, but they're not really conservative opinions. They were constitutional opinions. And it really upset them that she made some constitutional opinions. But that's not why they want her gone. Justice Sonia Sotomayor is getting old. I mean, she's not like in her 90s or anything, but she's getting old. And they're worried that if Trump is elected president, that she might retire or die while Trump is president, in which case Trump can then install another conservative judge on the court, or forget even conservative, just a constitutionalist. Forget liberal or conservative, just a constitutionalist on the court. That really bothers them. So they would like her to retire now. That way, Biden gets to pick her replacement, and Biden would pick somebody who's just as liberal as she is. And she's very liberal. That's what they want. This is what their big worry is. Does she, within the next few years, so what is she now? Let's see. Democrats previously waited along 14 years. In other words, if Sotomayor doesn't retire this year, she'll be making a bet that she will remain fit to serve until possibly she's 78 years old or older, 82, 84. How old? Right. That's why, again, hey, she will turn 70 in June. So if you have Trump for another 4 years, right, during that time, 74. Now, I know there's justices older than that, but still, they want her, and then who's elected president after that? No. So Sotomayor, the liberals are saying, please retire now because you're beginning to age out. Now, I wonder, when I hear that, at the same time, hey, what about the age of our current president? Do you honestly think that he's going to make it for another 4 years? Even if he physically lasts another 4 years, is he going to mentally last another 4 years? And I think obviously not. When you take a look at, I watched a video just recently. There's a lot of videos, and I've even played some audio of him stumbling to even just think. But I was watching, he was president, got up and was from a seat that was outside, and he was going to walk into a building. And it looked like a Secret Service agent was helping him out. And man, was that Secret Service agent helping him out. Here's a guy who shuffles when he walks, and the Secret Service agent is hanging on to him and steering him into the building. And I'm thinking, wow, he's looking kind of old. In fact, I told you guys yesterday, the president was getting on Air Force One, so they opened up the bottom stairs, because there's the big top stairs for Air Force One, but there's also the bottom stairs, which is a much shorter walk up. And he's walking up the stairs with people around him to make sure he makes it, and he's really hanging on to that railing all the way up. And so that's where you got to look at it and go, well, okay, in another 4 years, is he going to make that? This is where you got to start worrying about these things. All right. I would love for people to get a little bit more of a dose of reality with these things instead of playing games with politics. So far, in my lifetime anyway, not always, but for the most part, the American people absolutely suck at picking our leaders. I mean, there's been a few good ones out there, but most of them, and then when it comes to someone like a Joe Biden type who should have been run out of the Senate a long time ago and arrested a long time ago, but now he ends up becoming president of the United States. And there's still people who will stand behind the guy because, he's the Democrat, he's our guy, so no matter what, we stand behind him. Instead of doing the right thing, can we not put this guy up for president? Can you Democrats please come up with somebody else? Please just do somebody else instead of a guy who is this old and this doddering. Now back to Justice Sotomayor. I understand the worry of the Democrats right now. They were really mad the last time that Trump was able to pick a Supreme Court justice. How dare a liberal justice retire now while Trump is president? Drove them absolutely nuts.
Woke Radio, WOKE, broadcasting from Mom's basement until climate change floods it, which according to Greta Thunberg could be any day now, at which point we'll move up to the attic right between a TV antenna and that smelly steamer trunk.
And we're back. Sorry, we were busy tricking pescatarians into eating Rocky Mountain oysters. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods.
7:45 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Off we go to talk to Don Day from Day Weather. So apparently we've been granted one more nice day, Don.
Yeah, in many parts of the state, I think a couple, really. We're going to start to see colder air go into the northern counties of the state tomorrow, more noticeably on Friday. Some of that cooler air will spill south late tomorrow and tomorrow night, but we've got today. We've got most of Thursday where, other than a bit of a breeze in the afternoon, it's going to be very nice for this time of year.
Okay. But now I'm interested in watching the chains up because as things are changing and becoming more typical for this time of year for this part of the country, it really seems to be disorganized to me.
It's disorganized, but you expect that when things begin to change. This big high pressure ridge that is overhead right now is pretty robust. And it's going to take a hit with this wave going across Montana and the Dakotas and northern Wyoming tomorrow and Friday. So what that will do is break it down, kind of knock it down a little bit. And we're going to see up north, as we've been talking about, that the northern tier of the U.S. is going to get some snow with this system. But it will start to break down the ridge, and then the next system kind of comes in and attacks the ridge and breaks it down. So it is a little disorganized. There are two pieces of this system over the next 5 days instead of just one. So that makes it a little complicated. It's just not one system, but a couple, and then other systems coming in behind it next week. It's textbook. Wow. It's textbook this time of year where you have these warm spells, and then you can go right back to winter.
I thought what was interesting about your report on YouTube through Cowboy State Tele this morning is when we take a look to the east of us, where it's much needed, they're going to get a good hit of weather.
It really looks like the Dakotas, parts of northeastern Nebraska, western Iowa, Minnesota, which haven't had a lot of snow this winter at all. They may get more snow out of this storm than a lot of areas got for most of the winter. It could really wallop that part of the U.S. late in the weekend and into the first half of the weekend. And it's part of that system that's going to affect us as well. But the bullseye of the storm might be in those areas I just mentioned.
Okay. But now the rest of us, so we're what, going to be on the fringes getting little bits and pieces?
Little bits and pieces, but boy, we're not going to miss the cold. I mean, we're going to be lucky to get out of the 20s and 30s by Monday. So we're talking 30 degrees or more colder than where we are now.
This is why you should not have put your coat away.
You don't put your coat away until after Mother's Day weekend, and then you always keep it on reserve.
You always did, yeah. All right. Thank you, Don. Appreciate it. Okay, well, a big change upcoming, and some people are going to get a little bit more wet, which they definitely need. That's good to hear. Off to the icebox we go. Frank Gambino. So, Frank, I was at the YMCA in Casper yesterday, right?
Oh, you were working out?
Now, does that surprise you?
It does.
Okay.
I didn't even know you could spell gym.
Bite me. So, we have, they have in the gym, they have a really big basketball court there, right?
Yeah.
And around the basketball court is a 3-lane track.
Okay.
And as part of what I do is I like to go hit the weights. Yeah. And then I go and I do a couple of laps around the track and I go hit the weights again, back and forth and back and forth.
Okay.
And as I'm walking around, I start to kind of smile and chuckle, and then I start pulling my phone out and taking pictures. Because, you know, the ceiling is really high in that gym. Have you been in the place?
Long time ago, yeah.
Well, the ceiling's really, really high.
Yeah.
And way up top up there, let's see, here's a picture that I took. There's 4 different basketballs on some support beams.
How did they get up there?
That's a great question, because they're way up there. They're not just up there. They're way up there.
And they're on the beam balanced so they don't fall either way.
Exactly right. Another one behind some pipes, which I think has electrical wiring, but still on a ledge, is a football.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Also way, 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 way up high in another part of the gym, here's a couple of volleyballs that I found up there. And in all, I think I counted 10 different balls stuck way up there. Now,
in the ceiling.
Here's my theory.
Close to it, yeah.
I think this is how this works. Somebody gets one stuck legitimately. Okay. Then they try to knock it down with another ball.
Which gets stuck,
right. Then there's also people who want to see if they can get one stuck. Because one of them, I think it's my favorite picture, way up top there's an air conditioning duct.
Okay.
And they had to get it over this big round air conditioning duct, and it couldn't make it through the other side and down. So it's stuck way up there.
That's a pretty good shot.
That is. And I look at that as that's got to be intentional. It's so high up. There's absolutely no way somebody accidentally did that.
It's amazing what you find at the gymnasium.
Well, this is why I took pictures of it. Now I have to start working on theories. When do you think that the YMCA finally decides there's enough balls up there to go through the trouble of getting them down?
See, this is the thing from yesterday, that you poke them with a stick.
Yes. Well, now, there's already 10 up there. So apparently they have to get past 10. 15.
20. Or when they run out of balls?
Yes, we have one basketball left. We got to go get those.
And the
out.
next 6 are up over there.
Yeah. And now they're going to have to bring in one big A-frame ladder is not going to do it. They're going to have to bring in some
lift,
cherry picker machine, to get way the hell up there. But anyway, it amused me yesterday, Frank.
All right, in high school softball yesterday, Cheyenne played host to a 16 tournament. In the morning session yesterday, Cheyenne East over Orland 7-1. Cheyenne Central beat Rock Springs 10-1. Laramie bombarded Cheyenne South 24-0. In the early afternoon session, East over Laramie 8-0. Central defeated Worland 13-3, and Rock Springs over Cheyenne South 13-6. In the late afternoon session, Laramie over Cheyenne Central 3-2 in a great game. East beat Rock Springs 6-1, and Worland over South 11-4. Tomorrow, Wheatland will be at Cheyenne South, and a full slate of games on Friday. Thunder Basin will be at Cheyenne Central. Campbell County goes over to Cheyenne East. Laramie will be at Wheatland. Green River will be in Casper to take on Kelly Walsh, and Rock Springs will be in Casper to meet Natrona. Men's college basketball, the NCAA tournament tipped off last night in Dayton with the first 2 of the first 4 games in Dayton, and Colorado State of the Mountain West Conference drilled Virginia 67-42. That was the Rams' first NCAA tournament victory since 2013. CSU will be the 10th seed in the Midwest Regional. They'll play Texas next. Former UW head coach Steve McClain is an assistant at Texas, by the way. Boise State of the Mountain West Conference will play Colorado tonight in the other 2 games in that first 4 deal in Dayton. Wyoming Cowboy football team had their pro day yesterday in Laramie. 10 Cowboy players exhibited their skills in front of scouts from 26 NFL teams. 2 of those 10, linebacker Easton Gibbs and offensive lineman Frank Crum, participated in the NFL Combine. Gibbs already has visited with the Denver Broncos. He had 106 tackles in his career in Laramie. The NCAA wrestling tournament will start tomorrow in Kansas City with 3 Wyoming Cowboys taking part in that deal. 125-pounder Jory Volk won the Big 12 tournament. He is the 5th seed in that weight class, won 22-6 this year, and also made last year's NCAA tournament. 149-pounder Gabe Willowshell is the 22nd seed. He made the NCAA tournament back in 2022 when he was with Edinburgh University in Pennsylvania. He has a record of 18-10, and 197-pounder Joey Novak making his first appearance at Nationals. He'll be the number 17 seed with a record of 22-12, and the NCAA tournament in Kansas City goes from Thursday until Saturday. National Hockey League, the Colorado Avalanche beat St. Louis 4-3 last night. Mikko Rantanen with a hat trick with 3 goals. He's had 37 goals so far this season. The Avs have won 7 in a row, and they have a record of 45-20-5, the second best record in the Western Conference with 93 points. So that's it in sports.
Every time you mention a 125-pound guy, I right away want to go get him a sandwich or something.
No, he's at fighting weight.
Oh, is that it?
Yes.
How tall is he?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. Because, he can't be 6'3".
No, he's not 6 foot, 6'7". No. He's tough as nails.
I'm sure he is, but he's got to be 5-something.
Yeah.
To be 125 pounds.
He's tough as nails, remember that.
No, I believe that. I believe if I ran into him, I'd feel like I ran into a wall. Yeah. But,
Just to point that out,
Okay, but I'm still going to buy him a sandwich. Thank you, Frank. Coming up on some local business we got to take care. We're going to roll into news. Oh, it just makes me hungry to think the guy's 125 pounds. Coming up on some local business we got to take care. We're going to roll into news time after that. National, local update on the weather forecast. You and I get back into it again with open phones. Wake Up Wyoming. Sixth of the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. My name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. We're reaching the most dangerous portion of this program. Hang in, because this is like a roller coaster.
Today's show is sponsored by Sweet and Spicy Toilet Paper.
No.
Because life is, you need...
It's not.
Life needs...
No.
Okay, I don't know why you would need this.
I have been tempted to try it, just out of curiosity. But anyway, it's the open phone segment.
Warning. Wake Up Wyoming is about to enter daily open phones. This means that anyone will be allowed to call in and talk about anything. Imagine if we actually allowed you on air to say anything you wanted. Scary, right? Well, we're just that brand of crazy. If you are offended by what other people think, then maybe you want to tune out right about now. Just saying. If you should choose to call, just remember, the more funny and interesting you are, the longer Glenn will keep you on the line. Obnoxious jerks will be hung up on. Dave, all right, strap in, and let's do this thing.
888-97 Woods, the phone number 888-97-WOODS. If you don't mind, Miss Mary, I'm going to share a little bit of what you just told me. I'll keep most of it just confidential, I guess is one way I could put it. Poor Miss Mary. She doesn't just do work for me. She does a lot for Town Square Media. And as you know, Town Square Media puts on different events around the state. And so she's busy sitting down trying to do the permitting process for one of those events. And that means a lot of bureaucracy that she has to sort through so the company can get the permits for the event. And she was just, you ever see someone who is getting so frustrated they just start to laugh? I mean, almost uncontrollably. Okay. That's the stage that she's reached right now. And that's why I hate bureaucracy. I actually, in my life, I did this. I developed an intentional phobia. A lot of times people have a phobia because, it's something bad happened to them and it's not intentional. It's just they have a bad reaction emotionally to something. Well, I intentionally gave myself a phobia, and that's for bureaucracy. And in my life, I have at times, I've done this. In fact, some friends of mine went to buy a car. This is a few years ago. And there was a lot of bureaucratic paperwork that came with buying the car. And so they're filling out all sorts of information, and I just looked at it and said, why did you do all of that paperwork? Well, if I want to buy the car, we have to. Well, I don't think you do. Now, it's been a while since I bought my last car. Mine's doing fine. This is the one that I'm driving at is a old-fashioned manual transmission stick shift. And the reason that I got such a good deal on it is because I couldn't get it off the lot. Nobody wanted to buy a stick shift. Nobody knew how to drive it, I guess. I love when I'm driving, and I love the stick shift in there. Well, anyway, I go to buy it, and they start to push all of this paperwork in front of me, and I shoved it right back at them and said, if you want to do this deal with me, all I'm going to do is hand you a check, and we're done. I'm going to hand you a check, I sign something, and we're done. If you can do that, if you can make that happen, then I'm going to buy the car right now. Cash. The whole car. Just, here's your cash, here's the car, and I'll walk out. And I get this raised eyebrow from the salesperson. Well, hang on, I'll be right back. And he comes back into the room and says, okay, so our office manager is going to handle all that for you. It'll take a little bit. And I said, okay. And I went to an ice cream shop across the street. And I came back when they had called me saying all the paperwork was done. And I handed them a check. I wasn't going to, there's a couple of questions I did have to answer. And we're not financing at this point either. I'm buying the thing. So there were a couple of questions I had to answer, but it was very basic stuff, nothing intrusive. And I handed them the check, and they signed something, and they handed me the keys, and the car's mine. That was it. That's a phobia that I developed for paperwork, and that's why what poor Miss Mary's going through, yeah, I look at it and go, I'm not doing that. If you want to do this deal, you're going to help me out here and cut this kind of, But, okay, she's in a different position than me. She can't help it. But it's interesting to watch someone who has reached the point that it's so frustrating, they just start to laugh. I know we've all seen that at some point, right? All right, ladies and gentlemen, Al Gore with the only hit song he thinks he ever had.
You're driving a big car. I come on your radio. I say the end's close. You just say no. I say it's global warming, but you call me a liar. But this planet's on fire.
All right, there's several things we're going to sort through in a brief period of time on this one. First off, speaking of laughing ridiculous, the headline here is, the comments on this dude's ridiculous post have me laugh crying. And it's somebody who's making a point about pseudoscience. Fake science. So he shows a picture. It's a very proud papa. He's standing in front of the front door of his house, and he's holding a tiny little baby. Kid is so cute, but just came from the hospital. Then, in a very short period of time, 3 months go by, and now he's standing at the same place and he's holding the same kid, but the kid is over twice the size. And he writes, my 3-month-old is now twice as big as when he was born. He's on track to weigh 7.5 trillion pounds by age 10. And then he gives the exact number. 7,490,422,964,224 pounds to be exact. So what he's doing is he's making fun of the cult of climate change, which I've done before. Normally I do this when we get into the fall. I start reporting that, hey, folks, have you noticed the days have been getting shorter? Well, in the southern hemisphere, the days are getting longer. And that's because all of the sunshine is leaking south over the equator. And if this keeps up, well, then the South Pole, the southern part of the equator, it's going to fry. And we're going to be just in solid ice up here. This has to be stopped. Obviously, it's because of human activity that this is happening. Now, I do the same thing in the springtime. Have you noticed the days have been getting longer? And this is very typical of some people who talk, people who say they're climate scientists, but I seriously doubt that. When they do some kind of a study, like, for example, a little while ago, we were going through a drought, and we all remember that, right? It lasted a few years, and things really, to the point where some major reservoirs out west were really low. And there were those people calculating, well, if this keeps up, then we're going to be completely out of water by this time. But what happened? Because at the same time, I was repeating what our regional weatherman, Don Day, was saying, along with some other meteorologists, about the effect of La Nina and El Nino, which has to do with cycles of the sun heating the Pacific Ocean. And that has to do with whether we're going to have droughts or periods of rain, and snow. Of course, we switched. The sun got more active. The Pacific, especially along the equator, heated up. And we ended up in one winter, the drought ended and reservoirs across the West were either completely full, some of them were even overflowing. Now, the predictions were, if this trend is going to continue and we're going to become like Saudi Arabia with sand dunes and something. Well, is that what happened? No. Now, this guy, again, here's a picture of him with his baby. My 3-month-old, now twice as big as when he was born. He's on track to weigh 7.5 trillion pounds by age 10. Some of the reactions he got. That's exactly how exponentials work. Looking forward to saluting the galactic being at age 30. Yeah, he'll be, and that's something from Marvel Comics, a massive galactic being that can't even fit on the planet Earth. Let's see. Next picture, bet it'll be from a battle station. Yeah. You still have the Christmas wreath on the front door. You've been busy, someone says. I like this one. It's a picture from the movie Jaws, but we're going to need a bigger crib. There's some great comments here. Well, this again is what happens when people want something to be a certain way and they do pseudoscience to prove that it's going to be that way. But the problem is their predictions don't come true. Now, I'll do it in just a minute. I've got some stories here on how Arctic sea ice is not doing what they predicted. And so many other things that were predicted just flat out didn't happen. I thought that was a great illustration.
4 simple steps to being an adult. Pay your bills. Because if you got it, you probably needed it. So if you don't pay it, you're going to lose it. So pay your bills. Only keep a few close friends. Most are after to get what they need out of you, and once they do, they're gone. Always wear deodorant. You don't want to be the stinky guy or stinky girl in the elevator. Don't smoke meth. You follow all these, you'll do just fine.
Hard work,
hard work. That's what they say.
Honestly, he's just happy to be here. Catch Glenn Woods on Wake Up Wyoming. Weekdays at 6 on air, on Alexa, and on the Wake Up Wyoming app.
8:22 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It is open phones, by the way, so you can go ahead and interrupt me if you want to talk about something else. 888-97-WOODS. That's 888-97-WOODS. And other people are sending me notes off the Wake Up Wyoming app. All you got to do is just hit the chat option. The app is free to download at the App Store. Just go Wake Up Wyoming and then hit chat and send me a note. All right, so as the Biden administration pushes to get everybody in all-electric cars, even though that's failing miserably, all right, Louisiana House Committee approves a bill to prevent the internal combustion engine car ban. Protecting the sale of the internal combustion engine, the story says vehicles will be considered through the legislative process, Louisiana House of Representatives. Several other bills related to battery electric vehicles Tuesday were deferred by committee. One would put a cap on the number of battery electric vehicles that can be purchased by the state and their agencies, while others would allow, it says zero emissions vehicles. We know that there's no such thing as a zero emissions vehicle to be sold directly to customers as pause. Okay, one House bill would prevent the state from banning the internal combustion engine. The bill, also known as Preserving Consumer Choice Act, was approved by the House Committee on Transportation, Highways, and Public Work on Tuesday. A similar bill was referred on Thursday. So we'll see how that goes through. It's just starting now. But okay, another one. This is funny. The earth is smiling. Tyson Foods, that's what the headline says. Tyson Foods announces partnership with Protix. They're beginning construction of an insect ingredient facility that will support the growth of emergent insect ingredients. Now, so far, this just has to do with dog food and cat food. Tyson Food announces a partnership. Let me get down to the gist of this. It has reached an agreement with twofold investment of Protix, an insect ingredients company. I didn't know there was such a thing as an insect ingredients company, but all right. The investment is intended to support the growth and emergence of insect ingredients and expand the use of insect ingredient solutions to create a more efficient, here we go again with that word, sustainable protein for global food systems. Though through direct equity investment. See, they have to, again, use buzzwords. Direct equity investment. Tyson Foods will acquire a minority stake to help fund global expansion. Tyson Foods and Protix have Protix. When they say Protix, right away I think about ticks. Is that going to be one of the insects? I don't know. Have entered a joint venture cooperation facility in the U.S. Upon completion, they say it will be the first scaled facility of its kind to upscale food manufacturing byproducts into high-quality insect proteins to be used in pet foods. Now, they say that to be used in pet foods, but you and I know that that's just where it starts and where it goes from there.
Welcome to Wiggle Burgers. Would you like to see a menu?
Sure, but I probably just want a rib burger and some fries. I'm in a hurry and I'm really hungry.
You might like the grasshopper bacon bits or the mealworm arancini. Maybe try some worm salt soup.
But wait, what the heck is the mescal worm salad?
Oh, those little guys are great. We crushed them fresh this morning.
You crushed.
Have to do it while they're still larvae or there's that horrible crunching sound. Besides, most people don't like exoskeleton in their mouth.
Just what the hell are you serving here?
Sir, Wiggle Burgers is a bug restaurant. We serve only organic, sustainable bug and bug larvae. Gotta keep that carbon footprint down. Save the planet, you know?
Oh, please tell me they brought Candy Camera back.
don't understand.
Yeah, you're probably too young for that television show. It was on back when a person had to get up and go change the channel.
So you remember when the world was in black and white?
Well, most things were black and white back then. I have no idea what the hell is going on now. Look, I'm in a rush. Just give me a bowl of cereal. That should be safe enough.
Mealworm puffs okay? Do you want nut milk or freshly squeezed cicada larvae?
You don't just have cow's milk.
That's disgusting.
You know, if you keep grossing people out like this, you'll kill everybody's appetite and starve the human race.
Guaranteed population control. That sounds perfect.
To be honest with me, do you really eat this stuff?
Oh, come on now. If you advocate for this stuff, you don't actually have to do it.
Oh, but the rest of us better, or else.
Damn straight.
Yeah, see, one day all you're going to do is you're going to go up to, let's say you're hungry, and you see like a taco stand, right? And you're just going to want a taco.
Can I get a beef taco, extra cheese, and a side of guac, please?
We don't do that here, sir. Can I offer you our vegan gluten-free broccoli tacos with cashew cheese?
Well, what the hell did you just say to me?
Broccoli tacos.
I asked for a taco, not a vegetable.
It is a taco, sir. We just use broccoli instead of meat, and spinach wraps instead of tortillas.
Oh, cool. Got it. So it's not a taco at all?
It is.
How about some chicken fajitas? Can I do chicken fajita?
No chicken fajitas either, sir. How about some crispy kale lettuce wraps?
A what wrap?
Crispy kale wrapped in lettuce with a side of vegan coleslaw.
So it's a salad wrapped in a salad with a side of salad.
It's light and delicious.
All right, look, can I just do like a burger or something?
Absolutely.
Oh, cool. Finally. Thank you.
What kind would you like?
Just like a regular hamburger.
Yeah, we don't do that. How about a grilled cauliflower burger?
What?
We use cauliflower instead of a patty and flaxseed crackers instead of a bun.
Yeah, that's not a burger. That's a flour on a cracker.
It's really delicious.
Can I just get a sandwich?
Sure. What kind?
Just like something simple, like a turkey sub or something.
Yeah, we don't do turkey here, sir. How does a tofu spinach sub sound?
It sounds depressing.
Instead of turkey, you get tofu. Instead of bread, you get almond. And instead of eating animals, you save the planet.
Okay, listen, lady, I don't care about the planet when I'm hungry.
The tofu sub is one of my favorites.
What about like a tuna fish sandwich?
Yeah, we don't do fish here, sir. How about a raw asparagus cashew milk?
How about you serve some real food?
Sir, we firmly believe in a...
Okay, that's where it's going. I just swear to God. Tyson says that, look, we're just experimenting with bugs for your dog and cat food. That's where it starts. We all know where it goes from there. Coming up on some local news we have to take care of. We're going to roll into weather forecast after that. Then a nice long segment of open phones. 888-97 Woods' phone number. That's 888-97 WOODS. Wake up, Wyoming.
Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods. Make your voice heard at 888-97-WOODS. This is AM 1030, K2 Radio.
8:36 the time. Wake up, Wyoming. Hey, Colorado, you're up. Apparently, Denver food bill on feeding illegal immigrants is skyrocketing again. Story says, while the continued influx of illegal immigrants comes to more than 61 million is what it's costing them, resources for feeding those at shelters is running low, and the city is looking to amend 2 contracts at a city meeting, which they plan to have on March 20th. So, okay. From the Center Square News Source, in December 2023, the city of Denver agreed to a $100,000 contract to feed incoming illegal immigrants with the Colorado Hospitality Service. I don't know about you, but last time I went down to visit Denver, nobody offered me a free meal. But okay. And I even stayed the night, but all right. After a year, the contract was increased to $475,000. January 2024, the city then paid another $475,000. Now it's another $450,000 for February 2024. Now Denver City Council is looking for another $500,000 to pay for food costs through June, raising the total to $1.4 million. The city is facing the same issue with other food providers for the illegal immigrants. They started out with a $500,000 contract to feed the incoming. As of 2023, that increased to $1 million in October. Now the city will review $350,000 to cover through June. And it's going to go over that, by the way. Here's a quote. Due to sustained high volume of newcomers, the current purchase order is exhausted, and we are seeking to increase it yet again. The city stated in a memo in the council explaining its reason for the skyrocketing costs. Let me pause that for a minute. Meantime, for those living down in the Denver area, how are the potholes doing in your city? How are you doing with other city services, too? Are they keeping up with everything? I'm just curious. All right. Story says Denver has continued to receive an influx, while nearly 40,000 arriving in the city over the past year due to its status as a sanctuary city. This is what I said a long time ago. It's easy to say and declare we are a sanctuary city. It's easy to do that. That's virtue signaling. Anybody can virtue signal. Go ahead. Say what you want. It makes you sound superior. But in order to virtue signal we're a sanctuary city, you got to set up certain programs to take care of these people. Otherwise, you just said it. You're not really doing it, right? Oh, okay. But now here's the hard part. Now actually try to be a sanctuary city. Anybody can virtue signal, but do it. That's where the problem comes from. Denver has continued to receive an influx, the story says, of 40,000 arriving over the past year due to its status as a sanctuary city, and the costs continue to grow, and people keep coming. And since the beginning of the crisis, the city has served some 39,605 asylum seekers. Still, it faces a growing deficit as Denver continues to receive more and more newcomers and offers food, shelter, and other services. The city continues to shelter 1,150 individuals while phasing out some services this week by closing one of 5 hotel shelters currently in use. This is really getting expensive. Denver received $3.5 million reimbursement from the state of Colorado and $1.6 million advancement from the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, with $12.2 million in potential federal reimbursement currently pending. Now, again, the country, we talked about already how in debt the nation is, and it's just getting worse. Well, we're just going to keep throwing money out like this even from the feds, which they don't have, by the way, when you consider the national debt. Denver currently faces $60 million budget deficit. So despite all of that money coming in from all those different sources, they still have a $60 million budget deficit. And the Denver mayor said the city needs to maintain current services and as well as provide for all the illegal immigrants. It would cost taxpayers, if they continue to do so, about $100 million over just this year. While the continued influx comes from the cost of, about $61 million resources for feeding those and shelters and so on, all of that's running low. They're running out of everything. The city's looking to amend 2 contracts at the city council meeting, again, March 20th. The city of Denver did not reply to any kind of emails regarding all of this. So here's somebody sent a... No, that's a different story. Okay, don't want to go there. All right, so for those people who are in the Colorado area, I know that some of your cities never declared themselves to be sanctuary cities, and some recently bowed out of it. They were a sanctuary city, but they got to look at the situation and said, no more. And so they're out. All right, at some point, this is, once again, it sounds great to do it, but at some point they start running out of resources. And then what? And I wonder, as they run out of resources, this means that a lot of city services have to get cut back. And so people who have paid taxes for certain services, think about that. People pay taxes to get certain services from the city, and those services are going to have to be cut back or cut off completely. Then what? What happens if we just run out of, this is very likely, run out of money to take care of all these people? Now, this is not, let me just go back real quick and see. I had some other stories, I know I did yesterday, of certain cities just essentially cutting off and saying, we're not doing this anymore. They can only do it for a while, but they just can't do it anymore. Let's see. There's New Yorkers, Alabama, Pittsburgh. I have a story from there. No, I think I had that story yesterday, but I didn't save it for today. But anyway, there are several cities out there that had declared themselves sanctuary cities, but they're just flat out running out of resources, and they can't do it anymore, so they've shut it off. Now, if they shut things off and food is no longer available, shelter is no longer available, then what happens to these people? And we're talking millions that have entered the country. And we're not talking like 1 or 2 million. We're way beyond that. Way beyond that. So what happens when we start running out of the resources to take care of all these people? And most of it's being handled on the local level. I know the Biden administration keeps promising money, but again, they don't have all of this money. Once again, quoting Margaret Thatcher, which I did earlier this morning on a different topic. The problem with socialism is sooner or later you run out of other people's money. And they already pretty much have, because we can't keep this up. We're about $35 trillion in debt as a nation, and actually we're way over that, to the point that your federal government is borrowing money to pay down the interest, not even touching the principal. The principal keeps going up. They're borrowing money to try to keep up with the interest payments. So at some point, all of this comes to an end. Not just the illegal immigration help, but so many other things. And yeah, wind and solar and electric cars that are subsidized. I've mentioned that too. But many of you who rely on things like Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, so many other government programs out there are going to end up having to be either really scaled back dramatically or cut off entirely, because your government blew so much money, government on every level, city, county, state, federal, blew so much money that eventually they just couldn't keep up with it anymore, which is why, if they really want to get this under control, what they have to do is just stop all this insane spending, believing that somehow it's all going to work itself out. Let's wake up.
Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods, on air, online, and on the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app. Be part of the show at 888-97-WOODS. This is K2 Radio.
8:48 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Off to the icebox we go. Frank Gambino is waiting by. Frank, I've got another case to make for bacon.
I think all the cases have been solved for bacon. It's good for all uses.
Yes. You can put it on anything.
Anything.
But you have not heard this. This is from Ken Berry, who is a medical doctor. So it says banana, great source of potassium.
Yes.
Right? Okay. Bacon has 170% more potassium than a banana.
Potassium is good for you.
It's very good for you.
Yes.
Okay. One of the many health benefits of eating bacon is you have that extra potassium in there, which has great health.
What about all the grease?
Well, that makes you regular.
And I like grease, trust me. You know,
grease
great for hangovers.
Yeah.
Great.
Especially at your age, Frank, you need grease to make you regular.
Yes.
So there you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
You'll feel better in the morning with bacon after a rough night.
Absolutely. You feel a whole lot better. And okay. Now, I do tend to add bananas to things. If I have yogurt, I might drop some bananas in there. I got some bananas.
Like it in cereal?
I'm not putting down bananas. Absolutely. Right? Not at all. But I can put bacon on far more things than
like
I can
cereal.
bananas. Yes. I'll put bacon on cereal. Why not?
And Bacos don't count.
No, why not?
Is it even bacon?
I don't. I would have to look that up.
Is it processed bacon?
Are Bacos real bacon? Are they just bacon-flavored little nuggets
of
or something like that? Okay. Now, you see, what I'm going to have to do is look that up. Or Bacos real bacon.
Yeah.
They are. Someone one time got me bacon-flavored toothpaste. Well, and I tried it, and for the first time in my life, I said, okay, that's actually disgusting.
Yeah. Bacon is for eating.
Yes, not for brushing your teeth with. Although
if you get it crispy enough.
Yes, you can go ahead and brush your teeth with just a stick of bacon.
Yes.
That would be. Now, what do you call a stick of bacon? Is it a stick of bacon?
I'll call it a stick.
Okay. I wonder, is there another term for that? Hand me a watt of bacon.
Yes.
I could say fistful, but I mean, hand me a watt. That's the next question I have to answer. Okay, so What do you call just one piece of bacon? Just a piece?
Enough to fit on one fork.
I have no idea, but I'll figure it out. Okay.
All right, high school softball from yesterday. Cheyenne played host to a 6-team tournament yesterday. The weather was nice, so they're out there. In the morning session yesterday, Cheyenne East beat Worland 7-1. Cheyenne Central a winner over Rock Springs 10-1. And Laramie bombarded Cheyenne South 24-0 in the early afternoon session. East over Laramie 8-0. Central beat Worland 13-3, and Rock Springs over South 13-6. In the late afternoon session, Laramie beat Central 3-2, East over Rock Springs 6-1, and Worland defeated Cheyenne South 11-4. Tomorrow, Wheatland will be at Cheyenne South, and on Friday, a full slate of games. Thunder Basin goes over to Cheyenne Central, Campbell County goes to Cheyenne East, Laramie be on the road at Wheatland, Green River comes to Casper to take on Kelly Walsh, and Rock Springs will be in Casper to meet Natrona. Wyoming Cowboy football team had their pro day yesterday in Laramie. 10 Cowboy players exhibited their skills in front of 26 scouts from NFL teams. Two of those, linebacker Easton Gibbs and offensive lineman Frank Crum, a Laramie native, participated in the NFL Combine, and Gibbs has already visited with the Denver Broncos. He had 106 tackles in his career in Laramie. The NCAA wrestling tournament will start tomorrow in Kansas City with 3 Wyoming Cowboys taking part in that deal. 125-pounder Jory Volk won the Big 12 tournament at that weight class and will be the 5th seed. He's 22-6 on the year and made it to last year's NCAA tournament. 149-pounder Gay Willishell is the 22nd seed. He made the NCAA tournament back in 2022 when he was with Edinburgh University in Pennsylvania. He has a record of 18-10. 197-pounder Joey Novak making his first appearance at Nationals, and he will be the number 17 seed with a record of 22-12. Men's college basketball, the NCAA tournament kicked off last night in Dayton with the first 2 games of the first 4, and Colorado State of the Mountain West drove Virginia 67-42. It was the Rams' first NCAA tournament victory since 2013. So CSU will be the 10th seed in the Midwest region and will play Texas next. Former UW head coach Steve McClain, an assistant with Texas, by the way. Boise State of the Mountain West Conference will play Colorado in the first 4 deal tonight in Dayton. In the National Hockey League, the Colorado Avalanche beat St. Louis yesterday 4-3. Mikko Rantanen with a hat trick with 3 goals. He has a good season so far with 37 goals. The Avs have won 7 in a row and 4 in a row on the road. They scored a record of 45-20-5. They have the second best record in the Western Conference with 93 points. And that's it in sports.
These conversations we have, Frank, are really important. We solve so many problems.
Which one do we solve today?
Okay, first off, Hormel bacon bits are real bacon. Depends on who you buy them from.
Okay.
But yeah, when you go shopping for bacon bits, look for the ones that are made from real bacon.
Right.
So there. Okay.
I don't want bacon bits that are not made from bacon.
That's exactly right. Now, the next thing is, if I wanted you to hand a single piece of bacon, it is a slice, which I'm not so much for that, or a strip. Hand me a strip of bacon.
Bacon strips, of course.
Yes, of course. Okay. And so there, you see?
Yeah.
Who says our conversations don't mean anything?
I learn something new every day on this program.
And as always is the case with you and I, it is completely useless information that doesn't do really anything to help society. But damn it, we solved it.
I'll take it.
Okay. Coming up on some local business that we have to take care of. Got to roll into news time after that. National local update on the weather forecast. Now, Miss Mary says if I go back and visit her during this break, I'm really going to laugh at her. Well, I can't wait to get back there. Let's Wake Up Wyoming. 9:06 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. My name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. It's a Wednesday, and over the hump we go. And the phones are open, by the way, so you can change the subject all you want. 888-97 Woods, the phone number. That's 888-97-WOODS.
Today's show is sponsored by Sweet and Spicy Toilet Paper.
No.
Because life is, well,
no.
unique.
No.
I mean, life needs...
No.
Okay, I don't know why you would need this.
But I have been tempted to try it. Okay, couple of stories. Just go ahead and follow this as just unbelievable, but here we go. Washington Supreme Court rules that the bar exam is racist. Well, everything is racist these days, so what do you expect? Okay, the Washington Supreme Court issued 2 orders Monday endorsing alternative pathways for individuals to pursue legal careers, effectively eliminating the requirement for passing the bar exam. Justifying its decision, the court claimed that traditional bar exam blocks marginalized groups from entering the practice of law, and even went so far as to accuse the bar exam of having racist and classism written into the test itself. I would bet if I were to go to, and I believe this is the state of Washington, take a look at it, I would find many minority lawyers out there. But all right. The Bar License Task Force, chaired by Washington Supreme Court Justice and Seattle University Law School, studied options to the traditional bar exam following a year of pandemic-related bar exam modifications. The task force concluded in their analysis that the traditional bar exam disproportionately and unnecessarily blocks marginalized groups from entering the practice of law, and the traditional bar exam is at best minimally effective for ensuring competent lawyers. I would love to hear how they concluded that, but okay. As well, the task force portion of the filing claimed in the 1960s, when the civil rights movement passed out form of racism, it was veiled or non-formal racism came in. Racism under the guise of excellence, fairness, equal opportunity, all of those things made up a constellation of attitudes we cannot permit, they said. Okay, but I'm still waiting for them to justify. How did they come to that conclusion? All right, next one up. This is going to deal with woke. Woke college redefines racism. Well, of course, if they're going to redefine it, it's not going to be in any way realistic, and we both know this. But, okay, hang on for just a minute, because I can't get to that until I get done going to Mills, Wyoming to talk to Jude so she can blow her cork at the recent county commission meeting. Hey, Jude.
Hey, good morning. I was just going to tell you, Dallas Laird did a pretty good speech to the gravel pit people. Said, basically you guys need to come up with evidence that is going to be detrimental to your, people and your life and your water and all of that. So get some experts is what he was telling them. Okay, now when they came up with this adopting international codes, remember we talked about this a long time ago?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Jason Gutierrez got up there and he's against some of these, and I am too. Every time they adopt those international codes, what it makes it harder on the homeowner or the landowner to do anything without having to draw a permit, inspections, fees, and use unionized workers, whether it's plumbers, electricians, or whatever. So I'm totally against those international codes. Looks like Milne and Friel and Peter Nicolason are probably in favor of them. Okay, then they adopted giving the airport some more money. So it's $1,200,000 something of your tax dollars. The state's supposed to kick in, I think, $400,000 or the city or something, and they've never came forward with the money. So the Board of County Commissioners are kicking them over another $600,000. Well, people are saying, well, how long are we going to support these guys? They're into us to the tune of a couple $3 million now of our tax dollars. And Milne, this was what killed me. You know what Milne used as an excuse to keep giving money to the airport? The shooting complex that's coming in.
Oh, God.
We have to be able to fly those people in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was just absolutely, just
well, hang on. If the shooting complex is bringing people in, then we don't need to subsidize any airlines. That'll make up the difference.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll bet dollars to donuts those three vote for it again anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Friel, Milne, and Nicolason, because they love that kind of stuff. They love spending our money. That's why our property taxes are outrageous, because they keep blowing money on bull.
Yeah.
Anyway, and the last one I thought was pretty good, too. I got a little birdie that told me that Rob Hendry was going to be running against Charlie Scott. Sweeney's going to versus Alaman, which is my guy. And Gail Simmons, she's a progressive. I don't know. Langford, another progressive. And on I-80, they have already used up that $8 million they got from the Fed.
Mm-hmm.
So now they're dipping into taxpayer money to build those EV charging stations.
Were those chickens in the background, or were those geese?
Those are my geese, and they always do that when I try to call, if I don't get up there and close the window quick enough. Just remember, if you ever want a goose to eat, call me.
Oh, okay. Do I have to go out there and bum tackle it myself, or do you take care of that?
Oh, I can get them close enough. I got one with a bubble foot. I'll let you have him.
Oh, God, that just sounds horrible. All right. I just noticed that now and then you call the program, and in the background, I hear these geese freaking out. And I wonder, are they mad because you're on the phone, or what's going on?
Well, they live outside my window on the property here. And Dana's got all of his cars in back. And, you got to come out and see that. Maybe this weekend you can give me a call and come over, and Dana can give you the grand tour of what we protected, and costed us $250,000 to protect. So,
all right.
Anyway, all right.
All right. Thanks for calling, Jude. I appreciate it. I just figured you guys also needed the answer. I'm listening to all of that noise in the background. I'm thinking, sounds like geese, could be chicken, but I'm thinking geese. And, turned out to be that, right outside her back. But, that's what happens when you get calls from people in Wyoming.
Okay, for $10 billion, would you? Yes. No, I didn't finish the question. Listen here, there was nothing, and I mean nothing, that could come out of that little pie hole of yours to make me turn down $10 billion. Even if one random person had to die? Yes. The answer is yes. Okay, what if it was someone you knew? Yes, take my aunt, take my grandma. Hell, you could blow the block up. Can you even fathom how much money $10 billion is? Oh, it's just a hypothetical. And if it was a reality, I'd be first in line.
Live and local, all across Wyoming. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods on K2 Radio. Join in at 888-97-WOODS or the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app.
9:20 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. All right, I have to apologize to everybody on the Wake Up Wyoming app here. I just now saw a whole bunch of notes. For a while, the app wasn't sending me any notes, and I think that's not true. During the course of the program here, there's all sorts of people texting me using the app, which you can do. You go to your app store, Wake Up Wyoming, there it is. The app does a lot of different things, including you can text me by hitting the chat option. So I had been talking to Frank about bacon. If I handed someone a piece of bacon, what do you call that? Buck and Casper says a butcher takes a slab of bacon and cuts strips off of it. Okay, it's a strip of bacon. And Terrier Gal in Fort Collins, a single strip of bacon is called a rasher. Have you ever tried chocolate-covered bacon? It's awesome. I haven't tried that yet. Carol and Casper says a strip tit in Yoder sounds like Denver ran out of other people's money. Yes, they did. Blue Eyes and Douglas, we need to put the National Guard on the border of Wyoming and Colorado to protect us from those immigrants. Yeah, that's true. Jay and Casper, Denver, the San Francisco of the Rockies. Oh, God, that's becoming so true. Mike says, Glenn, you're just a pet like the rest of us. Bert says, every time someone mentions melting polar ice caps, I'm reminded that not too long ago, Greenland was once, this is true. Hang on, Bert, before I get back to what I was talking about before. You're right on, Bert. Theirs was a story that came out a little while ago. Well, Greenland was losing ice. Yeah, it's getting thicker in the middle, but thinner on the edges. Okay, so it hasn't really lost that much ice. But let's say it did. Well, that's okay because Greenland used to be green. We know this. And there used to be Vikings living there about 1,000 or so years ago with whole communities until it froze over and they had to leave. Now it's warming up again. If it is, okay. It'll just bring Greenland back to where it was. Green. All right, so those are just some of the people who have been sending me notes, and I haven't been answering because I couldn't see them until it finally updated them. All right, topic hopping a little bit. Woke college redefines racism. Yeah, so of course this is not going to go the way you think it should. Davidson College, very liberal college, private institution, North Carolina. If you're white, you're a racist, period, done. If you're a person of color, because, white's not a color, right? You can be prejudiced or bigoted, but you can't be a racist. This definition of racism is based on the belief of systemic racism and based on power. So what they believe is you might have bigoted beliefs, but you can't enforce them, therefore you can't be racist. And see what they're doing to twist the language here? Fact of the matter is anybody can be racist. And often anybody can be. And if you go around the world, is. So the idea that a white person is automatically racist, of course, is also absurd. You're white, therefore you're racist. I mean, nonsense. That very idea is racist. And then again, anybody can be racist. But here, once again, if you're losing an argument, one of the things you do is you change the language. So you now have won the argument. You change what the words mean. So it looks like you're winning the argument. All right. One more. Like I said, topic hopping. This you're really not going to like. Back here in Wyoming, Governor Gordon signs a bill allowing power companies to charge for carbon capture retrofits. Don't just blame Governor Gordon for this. Blame the Republicans in the House and Senate. A bill allowing utilities that own Wyoming coal plants to charge customers, for carbon capture retrofits was signed into law by Governor Gordon. The industry proponents of the new laws said the legislation is a win-win for Wyoming Energy. Yeah, but a lose-lose for the customers. There's nothing winning about this, by the way. The law permits public utilities with coal-burning power plants to reduce their carbon dioxide emissions rather than closing them down as an alternative. And actually, neither has to be true. We don't need to capture carbon. It's not a pollutant, and we don't need to close down those plants. Okay? Also, close down their carbon emissions rather than closing them down as other alternative power generating sources quickly come online, such as wind, solar, hydropower. No, they're shutting down hydropower or even small nuclear plants. The bill was approved by the Wyoming legislature a week ago, makes significant changes to allow utilities to delay the installation of coal-fired power plants and capture retrofits until 2033, 3 years beyond the previous deadline, which again is your House and Senate in Wyoming that approved a law that said that coal power plants and I believe natural gas plants have to do carbon capture. Which again, not only would I say that they don't have to, but I would make sure they don't have to shut down either. I mean, this is just pure garbage here. And the cost of this is passed on to you, as you see here. They can charge you for this now. They're going to do this useless carbon capture nonsense, and you're going to pay for it. Commercially viable carbon capture technology, which there is no such thing right now, for emissions on power generating and infrastructure facilities is important not only for our coal industry, no it's not, but also for our industrial mineral producers. They're responding to their customer demands. There's no customer demand for this. That whole statement right there by the Wyoming Mining Association was garbage. The legislation is important for keeping those efforts moving forward. No, they're not. If we really want to solve this problem, the way to do this is step back to reality. CO2 is not a pollutant. We don't need to capture it. We don't need to shut these plants down. Enough already. The bill had encountered resistance from the Freedom Caucus, and thank you, Freedom Caucus, for that. The Senate passed the conference report, Senate File 42, and it talks about how this was passed. The legislation will now allow rate recovery, as they call it, from electricity customers, as well as a utility recoup of federal tax credits to provide it for the installation of lower carbon emission technology in coal plants, which, again, it doesn't need to do. We've got to quit treating CO2 as if it's a pollutant. The proposal also changes 75% of the minimum standard of capturing greenhouse gas from 75% rather than 90% of CO2 has to be captured. Oh, God, I get so annoyed with this stuff. I will have to give credit and thank you, and I did thank some of the members of the Freedom Caucus for fighting this. And they actually made some pretty good headway, too. Well, I would like to see, we have another election cycle coming up. I would like to get more people in office in the Wyoming House and Senate who will just shut this nonsense down in the state of Wyoming. I mean, and that includes getting the governor that will, too. All right, coming up on some local news that we have to take care of. Phone lines are open, 888-97-WOODS. That's 888-97-WOODS. You can talk about what I'm talking about or change the subject. Either way, I'll just kind of roll with the whole thing. Another segment of open phones coming your way. Oh, and then when I talk to Frank in the next segment with him, for the ladies out there, when your husband is texting you, I have some ways to interpret what he said. I know, it confuses you, ladies. We're going to help out. Let's Wake Up Wyoming.
4 serious takes on local politics, or something like that. Tune in weekdays 6 to 10 a.m. to Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods.
$9:36 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. So, okay, I'll give you a little something, kind of an off topic here, which I pay attention to, but not too much. So, Robert F. Kennedy is running for president. He's running as an independent, as you know. Well, in order for him to be an independent, he has to get on the ballot in each and every state, which means he has to have a team running around trying to get petitions signed to get him on the ballot. Now, my particular thought on the guy, I find if he wants to run for president, go ahead. As soon as he started doing one of his campaign ads that I heard, he talked about solving income inequality. And right away I said, forget it. I mean, that tells me a lot about who you are. The way to solve income inequality, if you're looking at your income and you're thinking you're not making enough money, and you're really mad at the person who's a multimillionaire or even bigger than that, then you start changing your ways and you can be rich too. Okay. Well, government does not solve income inequality. It's always a disaster. Well, in order to get on the ballot in Wyoming, he's got to get 3,500 signatures on a petition. Again, Cowboy State Daily, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. campaign, U.S. president, crossed in Wyoming this week, trying to amass enough signatures to get his name on the state's general election ballot. Independent candidate volunteers gathered signatures at Central Wyoming College in Riverton all day Monday. Then they went to Sheridan College on Tuesday. They gathered at Casper College on Wednesday, Laramie College in Cheyenne on Thursday and Friday, and then they're heading to the University of Wyoming in Laramie. So they need, all total, 3,891 signatures total, 3,891 on their approved petition to get Kennedy on the state's ballot. They've got about 300 state petition organizers. So there's his campaign moved 300 people into Wyoming to try to get it done. They say they're wearing a lot of sunscreen in this spring-like weather. Okay. And they've been heading into gas stations like Murdoch's. I mean, any place where there's people. Quote, the message right now is just to get a different name on the ballot other than the usual suspects. I think there are people just kind of tired of, and they want new options. And I look at it and I think, look, I don't mind the idea of new options. I'm fine with that. I'm just also looking at Kennedy going, well, yeah, but he's not the guy I would vote for. So, no. Now, that doesn't mean, look, if you are confronted with a petition to get him on the ballot, I mean, go ahead. We all know how this is going to go in Wyoming anyway in the general election. And, man, is it going to make Liz Cheney mad. Which, by the way, hang on. I'm sorry. I didn't realize I was going to say her name. And then it suddenly popped out, and I went, oh, I didn't have this ready. Okay. So, anyway, this must be driving Liz Cheney completely nuts. My apologies. Next time I'll have that ready. So, because not only is Trump already, I mean, he's pretty much the nominee. Now, remember what I've said before. Nothing is done until it's done. This is a very weird time we're living on, and on a very weird planet anyway. And the universe itself is just bizarre. So, nothing is done until it's done. But still, the fact that Trump has made it this far has to be driving Liz absolutely insane, right? Okay. Now, if he gets the nomination, and again, unless something really wild happens, which it could, he probably will, that means that all of her work was for what? Then if he wins this thing, oh my God, what does she do then? She'll probably be with those that are trying to get him impeached or whatever the hell. I don't know. But okay, back to Kennedy. Kennedy does have, you might run into him. Kennedy has about 300 people running around the state trying to get a petition signed to get him on the ballot in the general election. He is a independent candidate. And again, I look at it and think, I don't see that as harmful to anybody, that he has to get that many signatures and get them on the ballot. I mean, sign it or don't, whatever, because as far as the state of Wyoming goes, we all know how this is going down. But just like it did last time. Wyoming voted for Trump in the last couple of presidential elections more than anybody else. I mean, way more than it. Trump was landslide, I mean, big time in his country. So anybody who voted for anybody else is in a very tiny minority. So I guess my thought is no harm done. I just took a quick glance at Kennedy and said, yeah, but I would never vote for the guy. 9:42, wait.
Polish off that tin hat. You'll need it for this one. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods. Available on demand on the Wake Up Wyoming app.
Coming up on 9:48, off we go to the icebox where Frank Gambino is waiting by. In the interest of remaining helpful and educational, as we do on this program, Frank, I'm going to help the ladies out on this next one. Wait a second now. There. Okay, you see? He's coming in just a little bit late over there, which means I haven't had a chance to do this in a while.
Frank Gambino, Studio 6. Frank Gambino, Studio 6.
I'm here.
Okay, good.
Talking golf.
Oh, wow.
People are golfing. I saw people golfing in Cheyenne yesterday.
Yeah.
There's people golfing in Casper yesterday. People are golfing. They won't be able to golf next week.
No, but that takes precedent over anything we were going to talk about.
Absolutely.
Because I guarantee what I have is absolutely stupid. Frank,
try me.
We're going to help people. There's women out there who will go ahead and text their husbands or their boyfriends, usually the length of a novel, and the husband or boyfriend responds. And they're confused by the response. So I'm going to help the ladies out.
Okay means okay.
Okay. Yeah, well, yeah. Thumbs up means cool.
Okay.
All right. K, the letter K, means okay. Okay. Laugh out loud means I'm mildly amused but did not actually laugh.
Right.
Okay. Kids are fine. I haven't seen the kids in an hour. I'm sure wherever they are, they're fine.
Yeah.
And take your time means I don't want you coming home early and catching me on my fifth Helldivers 2 match, which is a video game.
Okay.
Okay. Do you know what aisle the granola is in? I've been looking for your dang granola for 30 minutes now, and I'm about to set the store on fire. I think this is pretty accurate.
Well, I struggle at the grocery store badly.
Yeah, do you?
Badly.
Well, for me, I know, here's my problem. I know where everything is in my grocery store, but if I go to a different grocery store,
then you have to start over again.
Yeah. The laugh emoji. Ladies, if he uses the laugh emoji, I'm guessing this is the reaction I'd have if I watched the video you sent, but I didn't.
It didn't, yeah.
Right. If he says, got it. I did not read your text, and I will be calling in 15 minutes to ask a bunch of questions that you already sent me in detail.
Yeah, it's just an acknowledgement that you received it.
Yes, okay. If he texts you, and I think this is important, do you have Band-Aids? I'm bleeding to death in the garage. If he texts you, you okay? I know you're not okay, but I'm approaching you cautiously as though you were a wounded bear.
Yeah.
That's really important, I think.
I mean, to reach out when they're struggling.
Yes.
And then take the risk of having your head torn off?
Yeah. I mean, on the one hand, if you don't reach out, you're going to get your head torn off.
Yeah.
But
if you do reach out.
It's very much like when your cat, Frank, rolls and goes belly up.
Yeah.
Now, don't. That's a trap. But you better.
Yeah. So you can get your head ripped off either way.
Absolutely, yeah. So this is one of those, if he doesn't answer for a long time, what he's hoping is that whatever you just said will go away.
Yeah, and it really...
Yes, and then he'll just answer, sorry, I was busy.
Yeah.
No, he wasn't busy. He was just hoping that what you were talking about would go away. And if he waits long enough, you'll get on a different topic and you'll be in a much better mood.
Absolutely. I like that kind of thinking. Wyoming Cowboy football team had their pro day yesterday in Laramie. 10 Cowboy players exhibited their skills in front of scouts from 26 NFL teams. 2 of them, linebacker Easton Gibbs and offensive lineman Frank Crum, participated in the NFL Combine 3 weeks ago in Indianapolis. Gibbs already has visited with the Denver Broncos, and he had 106 tackles in his career at Laramie. The NCAA wrestling tournament begins tomorrow in Kansas City. 3 Wyoming Cowboys part of that deal. 125-pounder Jory Volk won the Big 12 tournament. It will be the 5th seed in that weight class. He is 22-6 this year. Volk also made it to last year's NCAA tournament. 149-pounder Gabe Willishell is the 22nd seed. He made the NCAA tournament back in 2022 when he was at Edinburgh University in Pennsylvania. He has a record of 18-10. 197-pounder Joey Novak making his first appearance at Nationals. He is the 17th seed with a record of 22-12. The NCAA championships in wrestling start tomorrow and will go through Saturday in KC. High school softball from yesterday. Cheyenne played host to a half a dozen teams in a small tournament. In the morning session, Cheyenne East beat Worland 7-1, Cheyenne Central over Rock Springs 10-1, and Laramie bombarded Cheyenne South 24-0. In the early afternoon session, East over Laramie 8-0, Central beat Worland 13-3, and Rock Springs over Cheyenne South 13-6. In the late afternoon session, Laramie with a nice win over Cheyenne Central 3-2, East beat Rock Springs 6-1, and Worland over Cheyenne South 11-4. Tomorrow, Wheatland will be at Cheyenne South. On Friday, Thunder Basin will be at Cheyenne Central, Campbell County will be at Cheyenne East, Laramie will be at Wheatland, Green River comes to Casper to take on Kelly Walsh, and Rock Springs will be in Casper to beat Natrona. Men's college basketball, the NCAA tournament kicked off last night in Dayton with 2 of the first 4 games. Colorado State of the Mountain West drilled Virginia 67-42. That was the Rams' first NCAA tournament victory since 2013. So CSU will be the 10th seed of the Midwest Regional. They will play Texas next. Former UW head coach Steve McClain, an assistant at Texas, by the way. Boise State of the Mountain West Conference will play Colorado tonight in that first 4 deal. And in the National Hockey League, the Colorado Avalanche beat the St. Louis Blues 4-3. Mikko Rantanen with a hat trick with 3 goals. He's had a really good season with 37 goals. The Avs won 7 in a row, 4 in a row on the road, and scored a record of 45-20-5. They have the second best record in the Western Conference with 93 points, and that's it in sports.
So people are talking golf.
Yes.
Okay.
I saw it.
Okay.
I saw it with my own eyes.
Okay, but as you said, but next week though, get it done today. Get it done today and tomorrow.
Yeah. I understand that. I try not to get my hopes up too high, knowing that, maybe next week.
Well, I know that we're getting close to golf season because, as you know, there's a golf course across the street from me. The sprinklers were on.
Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah, and that told me, well, if they've turned the sprinklers on,
it's time.
We're getting there. Things at some point are going to start getting green, and then we have that big snow that shuts the world down for a couple of days.
Yeah, but when the snow melts,
yes,
it'll be green.
There you go. Thank you, Frank. Coming up on some local business we have to take care of. News time after that, national, local, update on your weather forecast. Wake up, Wyoming.